very good morning. So today I'll deliver a lecture on qualitative research methodology. So let me begin the today's discussion with important question. So why it is important for a student of sociology or a student of other social sciences also, or people who go for research, to have a particular course on research methodology. So what is actually the research methodology? What is the relevance of it? So we all know that, like any other science discipline like physical or biological sciences, sociology is also a systematic study of the society. So it is also a systematic knowledge production. Well, how to produce this systematic knowledge? Like other sciences, we as a student of sociology also opt for definite sets of procedures and techniques to produce this knowledge. So these definite sets of procedures or methods engaged in knowledge production is known as the research methodology. So in the very layman language, I would like to say that research methodology is the specific procedures or techniques to identify, select, even process and analyze the information about a particular topic. So when we often come across a research paper, we come across a section on research methodology, isn't it? So what do you think? So what is the importance of this section actually in a research paper, this research methodology section? So this section actually allows the reader to critically evaluate a study's overall validity and even the reliability of that paper, of that work. So in social science, we have two sets of research methodology. One is quantitative and other is the qualitative. So today in this deliberation, I will specifically discuss about the qualitative research methodology. So I have structured today's discussion into the following heads. So this is what, I have structured I'll discuss what is method and methodology. Then I'll come up to what is qualitative methodology, so where I'll discuss what is the importance of qualitative methodology, when it is used, how it is used. Then I'll come up to the methods of the qualitative data collection, and if the time permits, I'll also throw some light on the methods of qualitative data analysis and interpretation. So while studying research methodology, we come across two words: methods and methodology, and we often use these two words interchangeably, but these two words had two different meanings and they cannot be used interchangeably. So let me throw some light what is actually method and what is methodology. So method is simply the research tool, a component of that research. For example, in qualitative research methodology, we use the research methods like ethnography, in-depth interviews, case studies, focus group discussion, etc. So these are the tools to collect the data for our research. So again, in quantitative research methodology, we use the methods or tools like survey, questionnaire, and Likert scales. Apart from these, there are some other tools or methods in social science, such as content analysis, which is very popular in today's world, and even the hermeneutic approaches which are being used. And here I'll come up to what is again methodology then. I hope you are clear that what is method. Methods are the tools for the data collection, for the research. And here methodology is the justification of using a particular research method. So we can say that it is the consideration behind choosing the method, the deliberation, the process. For example, if I am choosing the particular method of data collection, for example, the interview, if I am choosing that interview to study some specific subject, so why I am using that interview for that particular subject? So this is the methodology actually. So I'll give some example of methodology in qualitative methodology. So number one is the phenomenology. So phenomenology is to describe the lived experience of the particular phenomenon. For example, in 2000, if I want to research about the 2002 earthquake of Gujarat, so if I have lived that if I have a lived experiences, if I have experienced that earthquake, that is the phenomenology. Means if I'm doing research on that earthquake, 2002 earthquake, and if I have gone through that experiences of that earthquake, that is the lived experience, or this is the phenomenology. Then comes the ethnography. Ethnography explores the social world or culture, shared beliefs and behaviors also, of course. Next come the participatory. So participatory is the views from the participant as an active researcher. Here the researchers also become the active member of that particular society where he or she is researching on. Then is the ethnomethodology. The ethnomethodology examines how people use dialogue and body language to construct a worldview. So last is the grounding theory, which assumes a blank state and uses an inductive approach to develop a new theory. Now let me discuss when to use this qualitative methodology and when we actually use it. So qualitative methodology is very important methodology to study the Indian society, which is very complex and diverse in nature. Only the quantitative research methodology is not enough to study the Indian society. So first and foremost, the criteria to use the qualitative research methodology is that when real is not fixed. What is truth, we do not know. The reality, we do not know. It is not fixed and it is not quantifiable. For instance, if we want to locate social change in a particular village, we have to use the qualitative methodology. Secondly, when we are striving to understand the emic point of view. So you will always want to know what is the emic point of view. Emic point of view is the from within the social group. That means the perspective of the subject. We want to know the society from the perspective of the subject, not from the perspective of the people who is researching on it. So next is, if we understand the feeling, if we want to understand the feeling, beliefs, perception, etc., we should offer quantitative methodology. If we want to work on religion or rituals, so we have to understand the belief system of that particular village, of that particular group of people. So where the importance of the qualitative methodology comes in. So in qualitative methodology, we used a host of methods like interviews, case studies, focus group discussion, narrative analysis, and ethnography. However, ethnography is both a method and methodology, which I will discuss later on. So, well, let us first discuss what is interview. So, first and foremost, in qualitative sociology, especially the in-depth interviews are used to collect data. It involves direct one-to-one engagement with the individuals or the participants. So in-depth interviews can take place face-to-face and even through telephonic. During the when we are conducting field works in the pandemic situation, we use these telephonic interviews. So questions in the in-depth interviews are always open-ended, and it is always long. Sample size of the interviews, in-depth interview must be very small so that we can go for this in-depthness, and it must be very intensive in nature. Apart from the in-depth interviews, semi-structured interview schedules are used to collect data. It is basically a list containing of semi-structured questions that had to be prepared to serve as a guide for interviewers or the researchers or the investigators in collecting the information or data about a specific topic or the issue which a person is researching on. While using interview schedule, an interviewer also uses nudges and probes after asking a question if a respondent is not well articulated with their answer. So interview schedules have some benefit associated with it. So it increases the chance of getting the accurate data. So if we go to the field without any particular sets of questions, then sometimes we become lost. what to ask, where, how to ask. So it is always advisable to take a interview schedule with us whenever we go for interviews. So it makes the interview process efficient and also result oriented because we have a specific sets of questions. The rate and amount of responses are also better, and it also offers flexibility, and it also create a guideline for the interviewers. Now let me throw some light how to conduct an interview. Here I'm using an interview schedule of my PhD work which I conducted in the Assam Nagaland foothill border in a Assam Nagaland foothill village. So this interview schedule was designed to record the Merapani war memories of the villagers and their migration history to the region. So this is the semi-structured interview schedule which I have used during my fieldwork of my PhD. So this is to know about the Merapani war memory and even to know about the family and their migration history to the region. So the first question I have asked to my respondents was the tell me about your family. So when you migrated to this place, if I seem that the my respondent is quite blank, then I give them some proofs. So where originally from where you came from, so what is your native place again. So some people answer me that we came from Upper Assam, we came from this place, we came from Roroland, we came from even from other parts, and our means ancestors were from even from Chotanagpur. These all things come up in my answers actually from my respondents. So even I give some probes like how many generation in this village you are living, is this the first generation or is this the second generation. So this type, and even the family occupations. Next is the tell me about your childhood. So means again childhood means tell me about your childhood. Then again my respondents are lost. क्या बताए मतलब childhood मतलब child. Then I give them so tell me how means then the village look like at that time, means what is the means is it covered with a dense forest or something like that. I gave them clues and prompts, and then they started their narration, then started their stories, then the different social stories come up in these interviews actually. Then I even asked the question, any events of your childhood that stands out in your memory. So here I specifically want the data about the Merapani War. So I use specific prompts for this. Tell me about the Merapani War. If you have some incidents with it, if your family members have gone through some incidents in the Merapani War. So if your family has come across any accidents during that, at that particular time, Ahom Andolan was also going on. So give me some light about the Ahom Andolan, how you participated in the Ahom Andolan during that, how you participated in the Merapani War. So these type of questions. So this is how a semi-structured interview schedule look like. Of course, there are some also limitations associated with the interviews actually. So if you want to conduct a good interview, the interviewer needs to be very trained enough. So often if we are not trained enough, if the interviewer is not trained enough, then the discussion would take a wrong turn. Means we'll start talking and talking, but the things doesn't come out, the actual data doesn't come out. So we have to be very prompt in using those prompts and nudges, very specific nudges. So next is the interviewer needs to guide the interview without necessarily stopping the respondent's spontaneity. So it is very bad habit, means if we are not getting the real data, if the discussion is not going in taking a wrong turn, so we cannot means immediately stop my respondent. So means if I'm not getting the required data, or my discussion is not getting into a required line, so I cannot stop him, or just I have to go for the next round of interview again. So interviewer and respondent rapport also matters. So it is very important to have a very cordial relation, or cordial rapport building is very necessary between the interviewer and respondent. And it is obviously a time-taking procedure. Conducting interview is not conducting qualitative research is not very easy. It is very time-consuming. So next method I'll discuss is the participant observation. So this is the another very important tool of data collection in qualitative research methodology. Participant observation is a research method where the researcher is immersed in the day-to-day activities of the participants. Participant observation was historically associated with a form of research in which the researcher resides for extended period of time in a small community. So especially the colonial anthropologists used the participant observation to study the other culture. So it calls for actually observing from within a group or an individual. So participant observer generally lives or otherwise shares in the life of the group which he or she is studying over a long period of time. So in the participant observation, the interviewer, but the person who is working, who is researching, must freely interact and participate in the life of the respondent. For example, in case of my field study, I was sometimes participant observant, and sometimes I become also non-participant observant. For example, I was visiting every marriages, even the date funerals in which were taking place in the village. So next is to pick up what is said and not said, the body language, the gestures. So I have to be quite apt in picking up those body languages and gestures. But there is always limitation with this participant observation, that is its subjectivity. So when we become a part and parcel of a daily life of the respondents, we too much become the insider to that particular region or that particular village, and even we started doing groupism or etc, this kind of things. So it is very important, means this subjectivity must, means we have to be do away with this subjectivity while conducting participant observation. So another is the non-participant. Another form of observation can be also non-participant observation, which I have also used it. It is just opposite of participant observation. It calls for passive observation from a distance. We should not become a part of the life of the respondent. But again, it is very impossible to understand the nuances of the person of group behavior being from distance. For specifically to collect data on the local hearts, I have used the non-participant observation. The economic activities of the different groups of people in that particular hearts or in that particular marketplace. So in my fieldwork, I have also extensively used a non-participant observation to study some illegal economic activities like drug peddling, etc. So again, I'll discuss the next method is the focus group discussion. So a focus group discussion is a qualitative research method and a data collection technique in which a selected group of people discusses a given topic or issue in depth, facilitated by an external moderator or a researcher. FGD can be conducted in a small groups with 6 to 7 participants who possess some common background, and they are made to discuss issue on pre-decided agenda or a topic. Ideally, 2 moderator is required, one asking and one taking down the notes, and trained moderation is very important for healthy FGD. So means meticulously done. This moderation should be meticulously done during the FGD. Otherwise, it will sometimes arguments arouses, means a lot of heated arguments arouses during the FGDs. So one of the major disadvantages of the FGD is the dominant voice. So hard to get the information. Even FGDs are not very good to get to research the topic on sensitive topics. For instance, people do not want to talk about their identity in my field because people are suspicious of each other's identity, whether they are insider or outsider to the Merapani. So this is how, means sensitive topics cannot be discussed during the FGD focus group discussion. Now let me discuss about the case study method. So what is this case study method? Case study is a research approach that is used to generate an in-depth, multifaceted understanding of a complex issue in its real life context. For instance, if we want to study suicide in urban males, we can use the case study method. In case study method, we can take a single or multiple of cases. Case can be individuals or even groups. It needs to be descriptive or exploratory in nature. It is intensive study of the person, group through multiple methods which is already discussed earlier, like interview, participant observation, studying the life history, etc. So it is used for it is specifically used for longitudinal study and case evolving over time. So one of the major disadvantages of this is the time taking and difficult to interpret the data we obtain from the case study method. So last but not least, method I want to discuss is the ethnography. So this is my favorite method, which even I opted in my PhD. So ethnographic research is a qualitative method where researcher observes and or interact with the study's participants in the real life environment. So here means it is like any other method, like any other qualitative method, it is also a qualitative method where the researcher have to observe or even they have to interact with the participant, with the respondent in their real life environment. So however, it is both in method and methodology, which I have already mentioned actually. So how it is a methodology and how it is a method, I'll give in detail. So it is a methodology because it tries to identify a native culture, identify the feel and study culture in native settings. That is the qualitative methodology. Again, it is also a method. It uses varied tools of data collection, including the participant observation, case studies, interviews, and host of other imaginative ways to elicit the data. So while ethnography uses method of qualitative method, it is not synonymous to qualitative methodology. The three E's of ethnography, which are very important. Now, number one is the experiencing. Experiencing means the field is always the far away from home or maybe close to home. The field setting involves there must be a field setting, and it involves entry into the field and finding the key person, again to the rapport building, impression management, again the debate of then again the insider and outsider come into while experiencing this field work. So next is the enquiring. So enquiring is about the census, the interview schedule, case study, the methods we have already discussed, the participant observation, use of visual, other kind of research techniques. So these are some enquiring methods so used in ethnographic. And last is the examining. So how we examine this using other resource to validate your inquiry. So means, for example, if a means interview schedule or case study means we are coming up with a specific topic from the specific case from the case study method, we have to validate with the other official data or other literature, journal, paper, and even the ethnographic literature. So the limitations but again there are limitations associated with the ethnography. So the limitations are with the ethical consideration and epistemic injustice and we have too much dependence on what is being seen, sensorial turn. So there is ethnography of sound, smell, and taste, which is very difficult to work on. And next is the too much dependent on words. So what about the people who are not created words? So there are limitation of ethnography also, and it is again even a very time consuming process. So thank you. So today I close my discussion here only. In the next class I'll discuss about the qualitative data analysis. Thank you.